Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
The Rock and Review is so thrilled to have back on the show guitar virtuoso, composer, a man who does it all with a brand new album and an upcoming show, Paul Gilbert. Thanks for coming back on the show, Paul.
It's good to be here. Thank you for calling me a composer. That sounds like I know something about what I'm doing.
Well, I think now, after, Racer X and after Mr. Big and everything else and all your solo albums, I think you deserve that title, Paul.
Well, I wonder about titles because in other lines of work, people get titles, after they spent some time doing it. Musicians, right. I mean, you get stuff still, I have a guitar collection, so I can't complain, but you don't really get like, well, I guess the Beatles did. They got like that MRB, or I forget, some British award. But anyway, I normally when you're a musician, you actually just have to perform, and you don't get to rely on your things that you pin on your chest.
Yeah, exactly. Although, you have gotten a number of awards. I got to brag on you, Paul, from over the years in Guitar Player magazine and so many other publications as one of the top guitarists in the world. And besides, you're touring with, in the past with G3 and everything else you've done. But I got to talk about your new album I've been listening to, Werewolves of Portland. You actually did all the instruments on this new album. And I did notice more slide guitar, but my favorite song on the whole album and the video, Argument About Pie.
So I ended up making I think it's maybe the first lyric video for an instrumental song, for the song Argument About Pie, and put that on YouTube. I ended up drawing the whole thing. I tried to find somebody to draw it, but everybody was busy, so I just did it myself.
I was going to ask you who the artist was, because I just love the little drawings and everything. It kind of reminded me kind of Beatlesque. And I got to ask you, Argument About Pie, which pie was your favorite when you were going to the pie shop in Portland for relief? Which pie were you seeking?
Well, my mom, hooked me on pies when I was a kid. So her pies were always like, just tasted like natural fruit. They were pretty sour.
Yeah.
And they did not a lot of sugar. It just tasted like the fruit, but more delicious because it was a pie. And so that's the, anything that's sort of strawberry, rhubarb, peach, cherry, as long as there's not too much sugar. We got a good pie shop here, so that there's enough sugar to get the job done, but not too much to, make your teeth fall out.
Well, and I found it interesting too, Paul, that, with that song and with this whole album, to where it's like you kind of found solace in the pie shop, because they're in Portland. You can't be unhappy and enjoy pie.
It was like, exactly. It was before people started lighting buildings on fire, and I just got the sense like everybody seems angry about something. I don't know what, and but the pie shop, everybody seemed to be in a pretty good mood. So that made me want to have the pie all the more. Good food, good mood.
Totally.
And, I made a rhyme. I should write it. That's another song now.
Well, and that's what I noticed with this new album too, being your 16th studio album, is that certainly the use of slide guitar, which you haven't been known for as much in the past, but to me, it gives it much more a vocal quality with the guitar when you're playing slide.
Well, you can't really play anything fast with the slides, because suddenly you're a one-finger guitar player, and it makes the choices that you make a little more important, because you can't sort of hide behind the tornado of notes anymore. I kind of like that pressure. It's nice to play important things.
Back on the road touring, and this great guitar escape where you've got some of your friends coming out with you, including Mike Varney from Shrapnel Records. Tell me about the shows coming up. 4 days?
I've done these camps before. This is probably my fourth great guitar escape that I've done. And, we get an amazing group of people together. In this case, Shrapnel's the record label that I was on when I first started out with Racer X. And it actually supported me through a lot of my career. And Mike Varney is he owns the label and is a record producer that discovered a lot of amazing guitar players. Yngwie Malmsteen, Tony McAlpine, Eric Gales, so many great players on his label. So we decided to kind of build it around that theme this time. And we've got George Lynch from Dokken playing. We've got Eric Gales, I'm really excited to meet and jam with. Greg Howe, who's an amazing fusion player. A really good group of people. It's in Long Island, New York, at some beautiful mansion, the Glen Cove Mansion. And it'll be the first time I get to play some of the songs from my new record, and of course, because it's shrapnel, I'll be playing some of the race wreck stuff.
So I got to ask you this for the new album: which guitarist did you mainly gravitate towards, since you played all of the instruments on this album yourself?
Well, I borrowed the drum kit from my engineer. He had a drum kit there, and that was the most fun of anything, just playing the drums. Like it was the the center of the lockdown. Nobody could leave the house, and it's just nice to like move my arms and legs around, beating something with a stick. But with guitars, a lot of the Fireman guitars, which is I've been as Iceman flipped upside down. And actually, I was amazed. Paul Stanley had a Fireman made, and he actually asked Ibanez if it was okay with me. I'm like, what? And I stole it from you. You can steal it back.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Paul.
Yeah, I got some pictures from some YouTube footage of him playing a Fireman that they made for him. But anyway, back to me. There's some road stars. There's an artist from the 80s. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I think the artist was from the 70s, but the road stars from the 80s. The cool thing about some of the 80s, like early 80s Ibanez, is they have the whammy bars, but they're not the locking ones yet.
Right.
But they're like really good non-locking ones, kind of Strat style, and they stay in tune really well. And I kind of prefer the non-locking ones. They just have resonate in a certain way that I like. And it's also fun, just like sort of being low tech, and making it work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I got to ask you this too, Paul. Well, obviously, with the new album and with everything else that you've got going, what do you see on the horizon for touring, for G3, for everything else that you've done? And last time you came through Nashville, it was on that Mr. Big tour when you and Billy came on the show. What are you looking at for touring in the upcoming year?
Well, obviously it's a unusual time we've been living in with being able to tour. So I'm just sort of waiting for that to open up. I mean, in a way, it is opening up with my Great Guitar Escape. That'll be my first venture out. Right. We'll see how that goes, and just keep my eye on the universe. In the meantime, I've been really fortunate to have my guitar school. I've got an online guitar school, and I'd been doing that since 2012, so that was already set up and rolling along. And then the lockdown came, and my school got really popular because everybody's stuck at home and wants something to do. And it was a great way to communicate and stay connected.
Yeah.
Even when you're stuck at home. So I mean, a lot of that also enables me to communicate with people without having to go there. It's got students from all over the world and all over America, and every day I get up and watch what videos people send me and send customized lessons back. And that's what the company called Artist Works, and that's really been, it kind of saved my sanity during this whole time.
Well, and also I think it's so kind of you too, Paul. Certainly from your days at GIT and everything, and to share your knowledge and your music expertise, because I think all of us as musicians want to continue to grow, just like you've grown in your playing. But for you to share that knowledge with students all around the world and give them something new to work on guitar-wise, that's a lot of fun.
It's just fun to talk about, like the sort of the arcane art that music is. You get into it allows you to get into details, and much more than like, when I would go out and do guitar clinics for 300 people, it's more of a performance, and hopefully it's inspiring, but I can't listen to them so much. That's the nice thing about the school, is I can really listen to the people, and it really changes the focus. When I hear somebody play, it's like, oh, well, now I know what you need. And I end up teaching stuff I never would even thought of otherwise. And it makes me tear apart what I do. And it's funny, one of the biggest issues is furniture. And because a lot of, if you buy a chair, usually a chair has arms on it, and that'll mess you up as a guitar player, because the chair's arms get in the way of your arms, and you don't have room for the guitar to sit right, and everybody ends up playing they end up holding the guitar like a bib.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get rock to happen that way. I mean, you can play classical that way maybe, but a lot of, to play like Hendrix with your thumb over, that's, you kind of need like a no armed chair to do that, which I never would have thought of that.
Right.
I see all these students, they're all sitting in the wrong kind of chair. It's like, oh man, you got to order a drum stool, and you'll be rocking, twice as hard, and blame it on the gear. It's that darn chair.
Well, I want to make sure, Paul, with the brand new album out, Werewolves of Portland, and with the great guitar escape that you have coming up, and also with your guitar teaching, with your lessons, where should our viewers go to keep up with all things Paul Gilbert?
Well, I've got a website, but Instagram, I've actually that's got my hands all over it. And you can see what I've had for breakfast there,
and possibly what pie you're enjoying, and also we can see more of your artwork with the argument about pie. Paul Gilbert, thank you so much for coming on the Rock and Review, and we can't wait to see you live again on tour.
Fantastic. I'm gonna give you a pick scratch. Oh, that was satisfying.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of a Bobby Bones Show.